Okay, and now it's time to bring it back to Baltimore with Carol Frank.
Thank you. Good morning.
You want to do it this way on an angle? Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I want to tell you, I think you've got a great program here to take on the road. I really mean it. I think
maybe we'll do that.
I think the Chavurah has gotten together a program that really should be introduced to the community. You know, we think if we've been through the civil rights movement that it's still here, and it is still here, but that people are interested and active. They are not, and not as much as they should be, but they're not. And so I think this program is something you really should take on the road. And I will do whatever I can to tell people about it. You've got stars here. Okay, I came to Baltimore in 1941 to go to Goucher College. I'm from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. My mother was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I never heard much about segregation. All I knew is that she was orphaned at 11 and that a colored couple raised her because her father was, you know, in business all the time. But there was something about the message she gave me about her love of this couple that transmitted into an understanding or a caring about all people, but particularly black people.
Excuse me, Carol. Mm-hmm. Again, if you have a cell phone on or other electronic device, please turn it off. I'm hearing musical sounds that don't belong here.
Well, that won't stop me. My first introduction to actual civil rights was at Goucher in the spring of '42, when a classmate, Eleanor Gutman, from Bowling Green, Kentucky, I think it is, was arrested that summer for a sit-in in the black section of the Greyhound bus terminal in Chicago. So when she came back to Goucher, you know, some people wouldn't speak to her, and other people thought she was a heroine, and she was. That fall, Marian Anderson was supposed to sing at the Lyric, and it was banned, but we went down as Goucher students, a group of us went down, and we got arrested, and the president had to come get us, take us home, and he was very nice. He said, "Don't do that again." He said, "Don't do that again while I'm president," is what he said. So that I don't remember being very active in anything after that, except, you know, feeling that I would always do whatever I could. We had maids at Goucher, and if you wanted to, in the dormitory I lived in, she'd bring you your breakfast. I was not accustomed to this, and certainly not to having black people wait on me. The next thing, of course, was Marian Anderson being refused singing at the convention hall in Washington. So that we weren't, Goucher wasn't very active, but I had a teacher, an English teacher, who had Sunday evening get-togethers for chocolate and talking poetry and so forth. But on the side, she began to teach us about civil rights and what we should be committed to. The next thing that ever happened for me in terms of civil rights was listening to Jim Farmer. We were members of ADA, and Jim Farmer was a very active member of ADA, and so was Eleanor Roosevelt. And my husband was on the national board, or here, I mean in the local state board. So we got to spend time with those people. And civil rights became a very big issue in our lives. I can't remember whether it was ADA or CORE that organized the sit-ins in the restaurants in Baltimore. But one of the members of ADA was Bob Watts, who later became a local judge and a wonderful guy. He was a very handsome young man, and we volunteered to sit in on the restaurants. The place they sent us was the Belvedere. Well, one of the waiters in the Belvedere, especially, I don't know if any of you remember back in the 40s, the maitre d' at the Charles Room. Do you remember that? It was this very tall, handsome man, black, who was a lawyer. He was the first student to graduate from Maryland Law School. And he was the maitre d' at the Charles Room. But they sent us to the Belvedere, so we would go once or twice a week for lunch. And Bob's friend would come and have to say to us after about a half an hour, they'd bring the food. We would wait for the food, and then he would have to come and tell us to leave. So that was our job. Other than that, you know, we sat in, we demonstrated. The next demonstration we were in was Gwynn Oak Park. And that was the biggest group in Baltimore that I ever remember being part of. I would say there were hundreds, maybe 200-300. And the buses, you know, we got on the buses, we were instructed what to do and what not to do. There was a young man from SNCC on the bus who was in his overalls. I understand it was Goodman, who had been sent by SNCC. And we get to the park, and I don't know how many of you have ever been in an angry crowd. It's pretty awful. Even though we were, you know, there were police to guard us and all, but they spit on you, they threw things on you. It was very unpleasant. When we got back on the bus, we were very glad to be back and safe. And we were taken back to the Pikesville Armory and booked. And that was the extent of our demonstration. This was not put on a record in any way. I don't know how. I'm trying to think of the lawyer. I can't think of his name now, but he was very active in civil rights in Baltimore. We have always been active in civil rights, actually through ADA for the most part. My rabbi was Morris Lieberman, and I felt that after Maury had gone to jail, I simply had to do it too. We were taken that day, and I'm getting ahead of myself, we were taken that day to the Metropolitan Church at Lafayette Square. And then as the minister spoke, you were then asked to decide whether you were going to go and demonstrate by getting on the bus or not. One of our good friends, Irv Blum, said, "You do it, I'm not." I can't for a number of reasons. And Sandy, my husband, was afraid to do it because of business, but he did do it. And he came to protect me, for which there was no protection. There was no need for that. It was really very, you know, very orderly. We have remained always active in civil rights as a commitment. And that's about it. Slowly the restaurants got, you know, got desegregated, and people got waited on, and today there's no issue whatsoever.
Okay, we'll do questions and answers.
Excuse me 1 minute, Bob. I want to say one thing. You don't hear too much today about organizations that are active in civil rights or the black and white situation, but there is an organization that some of you may know called the Blues. It's the blacks and the Jews. And they are continually active in this regard. You may want to hear from them sometime.
The organization she just mentioned is a Baltimore organization.